Tonight, the ugly side of the beautiful game. In an exclusive interview, Crystal Palace manager Patrick Vieira tells us football has a lot of work to do to ensure black managers get the top jobs.
I think we need to go a little bit more deeper and try to understand why there is not those opportunities has not been created to give to black managers as much as they have been given to white managers.
Also on the programme, after the pandemic and a cost of living crisis, are low traffic neighbourhoods the nail in the coffin for London's high streets? She's helped to solve some of the capital's most high-profile crimes. We meet the woman behind the cold case reviews and
we're going to be live from Leicester Square talking to the Hollywood star Lily James as London gets a new rom-com ahead of Valentine's Day.
Good evening. We start tonight's programme with an exclusive interview with the Premier League's only black manager. Patrick Vieira was widely considered to be one of the best midfielders of his generation. And after a string of international coaching positions, he's been managing Crystal Palace for the last 2 years. But why, when more than 40% of players on the pitch are black, is he still the only one to break through off the pitch? Vieira says racism still exists in our society and in the game, and the issues run much deeper. He's been speaking to Antoine Allen.
Arsenal's invincible captain, France's World Cup winning midfielder, but the unwanted title Patrick Vieira holds as a coach is as the only black manager in the Premier League. Vieira told me the whole of the football industry lacks diversity.
You know, when you're meeting the press, you're looking in the room and you're looking at how many black person that you have in the room. When I'm going to a meeting in the boardroom, you're looking at how many black people you have around.
A report from 2022 showed last season over 40% of players were from a black or ethnic minority background. And black people were 14% of qualified coaches. But they represent only 4% of managers across the Premier League and English Football League. Patrick says black coaches lack opportunities, not qualifications.
When you're asking the question, people are saying, yeah, but they are not doing their badges. And that is not true, because they are all going to do the badges from the B license to the Pro license.
Black managers are struggling to find teams to coach across the continent. In Europe's top 5 leagues, of the 98 managers, only 3 are black.
It is important to try to understand the reason why.
And what do you think the reason why is?
From where I stand, of course, I will say it, we shouldn't hide ourselves, say that racism is part of our game in our society. And then I think we need to go a little bit more deeper and try to understand why there is not those opportunities has not been created to give to black managers as much as they have been given to white managers.
This weekend, for the second time this season, Brentford striker Ivan Toney was the victim of racist abuse online after scoring against Arsenal. His club said they were disgusted and asked, how many times does this need to happen?
When it comes to the level of racism you faced as a player and discrimination you may have faced as a manager, do you think we're in a better place now, or are we going backwards?
We are in a better place, but it doesn't move quick enough, and the progression is not quick enough. I think in our days, talking about having opportunities, it's something really painful.
Patrick Vieira is a legend in North London, but he is building his reputation south of the river. Last season he took the Eagles to Wembley, reaching the semi-final of the FA Cup.
They knew me as a person and what I can bring to the football club. And it wasn't any question about the colour of my skin. It was more about who I was as a manager, who I was as a person, and how can I help the club to grow.
And would you like to see that the way that you were treated here replicated across leagues around Europe, that they're given opportunities to more managers of colour?
I shouldn't hope for it. It should be like that.
Vieira wants to be judged by his performances, not skin colour. As Palace manager, he has ambitious goals.
I think my ambitions in the near future, I will say it, is to take this football club to the top 10 finish. I think it will be something really positive.
Vieira hopes that players and coaches beyond Selhurst Park will be inspired by him to reach the top of the game, despite the challenges.
So, Antoine, there's clearly an issue, isn't there, with representation off the pitch. So what are the Premier League and FA doing about it?
Well, in 2020, they launched an initiative to get more black coaches into the game. These were a number of different schemes. Obviously, you haven't worked in terms of the Premier League coaches, but they say that 36 of the people that were on those courses have gone on to work for a Premier League club. Now, when it comes to the stats that we used during that report, they were provided by the Black Football Partnership. They say schemes are not enough and black managers are definitely good enough.
The players are, yes, great entertainers on the pitch, the black players, but why can't they be leaders off the pitch? The data tells us, the evidence tells us that when they're managers, they perform as well, if not better than their peers. The data tells us that they have the qualification. The data tells us they're job ready. The people tell us they just can't get the job, so the football pyramid is broken for them.
And when he talks about that football pyramid, anyone that enjoys watching the Premier League or the EFL, any of these leagues, can see there's lots of black players. But as they get closer and closer to the end of their careers, they're hoping that the example of Patrick Vieira means that they too can have a career within the dugout. And that's why Patrick was speaking to us today, to make sure that they have the same chance as everyone else.
OK, Antoine, thank you. A really good report. Thank you. Now, the former police officer who raped and murdered Sarah Everard has pleaded guilty to 3 counts of indecent exposure. Wayne Couzens appeared in court via video link. He admitted exposing his genitals in Woodland in Kent and twice in a branch of McDonald's in Swanley in the weeks before he killed Sarah. The Metropolitan Police has apologised to Caroline Flack's family for not keeping a record about why they charged her with assault. The Crown Prosecution Service had recommended the former Love Island presenter receive a caution, but this decision was appealed by the Met, who instead charged her with assault by beating. Flack was found dead 2 months later. And a West London coroner who bullied staff and lost sensitive documents has been sacked. Chinyere Inyama has been at the centre of several scandals since he was appointed 10 years ago. In 2014, he left a sensitive police document about the murder of 14-year-old Alice Gross on a train. He's been dismissed for knowingly misleading the chief coroner. Next tonight, a high street in Haringey says it's been decimated by the introduction of a low-traffic neighbourhood. 3 businesses on Middleton Road have already shut up shop since the controversial LTN was brought in last year. And many others say they'll be forced to leave in the next 18 months. Our political correspondent Simon Harris reports.
For drivers, they're the flower pots from hell, the wooden plant tubs which mark the boundaries of low-traffic neighbourhoods. Across London, LTNs have divided suburbia. At Bowes Park in North London, traders on Middleton Road fear it's becoming a ghost town. Aliv chairs the local Traders Association and runs a cafe where business, she says, has fallen by a half.
I've got no trade passing by. I've got no tradesmen or women coming in anymore. I just rely on the local people for the lunchtime.
And can you survive?
No, it's really difficult.
Tara's company sells furniture and clothes, but the LTN has forced her to shut up shop and move to another part of London.
It feels like it's dying a death. Shops are pulling out. People are considering pulling out. Obviously they're tied to leases, but they're re-looking at their leases and may not continue. You can't do business here anymore.
But Haringey Council thinks there are other reasons businesses are struggling.
Across the borough, the reality is that the cost of living crisis and the economic environment has had an impact across borough-wide.
The LTNs?
So in areas there is no LTN, and very far from the LTNs, they have also seen a downturn in trade.
Haringey's 3 LTNs generated almost £2 million in fines in 4 months. The council insists they're not about raising money, they're about improving the lives of people who live there.
You live in the low traffic neighbourhood. Is it quieter? Is it better? No, people, they push the camera, they use it. I was before quiet as well.
At her health salon, Saffron's customers include cancer patients. She says the LTN is scaring them away.
My clients are very vulnerable, they have a lot of underlying issues and they come here for their treatments. Now, a lot of them can't. They're too scared to come around here. They're not sure. They're very confused. Can they turn left? Can they turn right?
We've had many patients getting fines because they don't know how to get in and out without getting a fine. I think we had an 86-year-old lady. She came in for her teeth. She was fined twice. Once coming and once going. She appealed. It was rejected.
The council says the LTNs are an experiment and might not be permanent, but the damage they're doing could be. Simon Harris, ITV News, Bowes Park.
Now, it's undoubtedly the UK's most well-known racially motivated murder. Stephen Lawrence was attacked by a group of white men as he waited at a bus stop in Eltham in April 1993. It would be 18 years before his attackers would stand trial. In January 2012, Gary Dobson and David Norris were found guilty of Stephen's murder and given sentences equivalent to life. Now, their prosecution was only possible because of the new scientific evidence. And Dr. Angela Gallup was the scientist in charge of the forensic team who made that breakthrough. And she joins me in the studio now. And I'm right, aren't I, in saying that it was a tiny, microscopic bit of evidence that made that breakthrough?
Yes, it was, ultimately. I mean, we had 3 different kinds of evidence, but the main evidence was tiny.
And the way you found that evidence is going to be featured in an ITV programme which is being aired.
Yes.
Right, so let's have a look at it.
Right. We were pretty surprised to find a flake of blood.
The blood in the bag was attached to tiny blue fibres, which didn't match the clothes that had been stored there.
Finding that tiny fragment of blood joined to a fibre of interest was huge.
And as I said, it was a microscopic little point of blood. I mean, how difficult was it to find?
Well, it was extremely difficult, and we'd looked for it and not found it, and other scientists before us had looked for it and not found it. And in fact, we only found it by looking for something else first, and I think that's what we've discovered about doing re-investigations of cases, that sometimes you have to go by a rather indirect route to find what you're really looking for.
And of course, the scientific sort of forensics that you used were not available when Stephen was murdered, so that's why it took so long.
Well, no, that's right. I think we now understand much better about how to find things, but we didn't have the technology to analyse bloodstains in that that depth of detail, you know, in the decade before. So that's completely true.
And when we watch dramas, it's all done very, very quickly and dramatically, but yes. I imagine it takes a lot longer in real life.
Oh, absolutely, yes. And I mean, even finding this bloodstain took ages, but yes, it's not sort of, you know, you send a sample off and 10 minutes later the lab's ringing with the result. It's certainly not that.
It's not that. And I mean, that painstaking work that you and your team did gave justice to the family 18 years later. And it's so emotional for them. I was in court. But what's that like for you?
Well, I think it's very satisfying. Obviously, we're not the court. We don't sort of judge anything. We're just looking for evidence, and then we present it. We try and interpret it and present it for the court to decide what it means against the background of all the other evidence. But I think we knew we had a pretty strong case. We had 5 different types of textile fibre. We had this tiny bloodstain, and we had some hair evidence as well. So we had quite a lot in the end.
And that's just one of the cases that's featured. I mean, you've worked on other cases, the Rachel Nickel case, which is still unsolved.
Yeah. No, that's solved now.
Oh, the Rachel Nickel case?
Yes, the Rachel Nickel case, absolutely. In that case, we found a link not to poor old Colin Stagg, who'd been suspected of it for so long and actually was even taken to court on one occasion. But it was someone completely different, Robert Napper, who already had some background committing crimes, rapes and murder.
And really briefly, is there a case that you would like to work on that you haven't had a chance to?
I think there are lots of cases, but I mean, really, it's any case that the police are having problems with, I think, or sparks some interest. You know, can we find the critical evidence? You know, so It's sort of almost anything. I suppose it's the case of Gareth Williams, if I had to pick one. But the man who was found there inside a holdall. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have time to talk about that in detail. So the ITV programme is called Coal Forensics, and I know that you have a book. You can give me the title of one, which is
When the Dogs Don't Bark, which is my autobiography, but it's got a lot of detail about some of these really big cases in it.
OK. Dr. Angela Gallup, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, still to come, how do you find love in 2023? We'll be on the red carpet with Lily James and Shaddad Latif as they attempt to answer that age-old question in their latest film. Plus...
You're a brave man. You're going to teach me how to draw.
Well, we'll have a go.
What did you do in a former life to deserve this?
Well, I've got you a nice sketchbook.
Sally meets the Shoreditch sketcher. But first, could human error cost Arsenal the Premier League title? Gunners fans are still reeling today after a significant VAR error allowed Brentford to equalise with a controversial goal at the Emirates on Saturday. The professional game match officials say they have acknowledged the mistake, but the score still stands. Daniel Henry reports.
Arsenal fans, look away now. This strike on Sunday shouldn't have stood. But a refereeing mistake means their game against Brentford ended in a draw, rather than a win.
We're all human beings, we all make mistakes. But to forget to check, that is an absolutely massive error.
Akil was at the game on Sunday. He's also part of the Arsenal Supporters Trust and has had a chance to put VAR to the test.
I got invited to Stockley Park, I saw the technology, I got to play around with it myself. I can absolutely see the benefits.
Those benefits weren't exactly on show on Saturday, when the team of officials that use VAR failed to spot this offside goal. The group that represents referees have admitted they got it wrong. They've replaced the official who made the call and explained themselves to Arsenal. But...
well, if we lose the league by 1 point, I'm not sure what an apology really does. It doesn't give you a medal, it doesn't give you a league title. So, I'm sure in 10 years I can tell my kids that, you know what, we would have won the league, we didn't, but great, guess what, we got an apology.
It's been a while since Arsenal last won the Premier League title, nearly 20 years in fact. They've led the league for most of this season, and they know that if they want to stay there, that every point counts, which is why they're so frustrated about what happened here at the weekend. This weekend, the decision was wrong, but they can't fix it.
No, they can't go back in time to change it. It's frustrating for them because there's been multiple occasions this season where VAR has worked against them and it's cost them points. All they can do is just try and focus on winning the next match. They can't go back and change things. All they can do is focus on trying to beat Manchester City now.
A win on Wednesday would go some way to helping Arsenal forget about Saturday's slip-up. But some fans will find it difficult to forgive if it proves to be the difference between winning and losing another Premier League title. Daniel Henry, ITV News.
Hundreds of people marched over Waterloo Bridge this afternoon to encourage higher visibility of women and non-binary people in STEM. The demonstration was organised to promote women to pursue careers in science, tech, engineering and maths. A recent survey by the organisation found that 1 in 3 young people haven't been taught about a female scientist in the past 2 years.
When we think about how far-reaching STEM and its outputs, the research, the products are, when we think about that not reflecting the society, the people that are building it not reflecting society, it means that we do end up sometimes doing more harm than good. But also it means that we're missing out on a lot of talent.
Next tonight, a journey from London to Lahore in search of love. Jemima Khan has written a new comedy that takes a look at romance, dating in the modern world and arranged marriages. The filmmaker, who was previously married to Pakistani cricketer Imran Khan, explores the pros and cons of finding a partner in the 21st century. The movie premieres in Leicester Square tonight, but before we head over to the red carpet, let's take a look at the trailer.
I'm getting an arranged marriage. Well, assisted marriage. That's what we're calling it these days.
Dare I ask, what about love?
You grow to love the person you're with.
What, like Stockholm Syndrome?
So, your ideas for your next film?
I could follow my childhood friend to marry a stranger chosen by his parents.
Huh.
Rags, a stellar cast there, and I hope you've got some of them with you tonight.
Yes, I've got two stars of the movie with me now, Lily James and Shazad Latif. What's love got to do with it? For anyone who hasn't seen it, what's it all about?
Love. What is it? You go.
We are best friends growing up. Lily's character is a documentary filmmaker. I'm deciding to get an arranged marriage. She says, can I make a documentary about it? And I'm like, all right, after some persuasion. And then just lots of stuff happens after that.
Yeah, tons of stuff.
And on screen, there's a lot of chemistry between you two. And you're good friends, old friends. So are you acting or you just like each other?
No, we sort of kind of like each other. We've been mates for like over 10 years. So when this opportunity came around to get to work with one another, it was sort of just one of the most exciting moments I've had. We get to work with one of your great friends and make this lovely film. So.
And there's a kind of serious theme to this, arranged marriages, assisted marriages, as you call them. So there's a kind of moral message to this. What describe that?
I suppose it's just good for, like you said, assisted marriage. The terms changed now, so it's been upgraded a little bit, and it's nice for everyone if we can do a rom-com and make people feel and laugh and cry while they learn something, like get a view into someone else's culture a little bit.
Yeah.
That's also a good thing.
Yeah, it seems like Jemima's made a film that is not only a love letter to Pakistan, but also like tearing apart any stereotypes that people may have, and it's a really open, explorative look at these different cultures and how people find love in today's times.
I was going to talk about Jemima. She wrote it, produced it. How involved was she? How personal was it for her?
Well, I mean, yeah, she took stuff from her whole experience and time she had in Pakistan and drew on stories and drew on things she saw and felt, and then she was so involved and helped us. She knows, she speaks Urdu, man. She's a legend.
She was on set every single day. She was such a huge resource for me, and she's so passionate about this. Obviously, she's been working on this a long time, and she honestly, I admire her so much, and it's one of the great collaborations I've made working with her and Shaker too. It was really, really special.
And we have to talk about Emma Thompson, Dame Emma. What's it like acting with
Having her as a mum? It's really good.
She's a legend, man. I grew up watching. All of us grew up watching Emma's film. Like, it's just so, as an actor, a young actor, it's just so great to be in a movie with Emma Thompson.
We have to talk about love just before Valentine's Day. I think the moral of the movie is like walking slowly into love. Talk to me about that.
Walking into love, not falling into love. And everyone talks about a click. What's the end of that one?
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember. Something. But basically, it takes time. You can build a loving relationship. I think we're really obsessed with flicking through a dating app, and it needs to be now. And this is sort of a different approach.
Creating strong foundations,
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Were you taking notes then?
Yeah, you're gonna hold that tight.
Oh, well, here we go. Thank you very much. The movie is out, when is it out? 24. Next week. Go and see it. Thank you so much. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Rags Martel, thank you very, very much. You look like you're having fun. OK, it's been a beautiful day in the capital today, and it looks like the sunshine's here to stay. Thank God for that. Here's James Wright with the forecast.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles. Car, charger and energy.
Hi there, good evening. A fine start to the week, lots of lovely sunshine around and more to come tomorrow courtesy of this high pressure system. It's drawing up some nice dry air from the continent. Doesn't last beyond Wednesday though, so it's a week of two halves, settled to start, more unsettled towards the end of the week with plenty of fronts moving through, certainly bringing clouds, hopefully not too much in the way of wet weather. Tonight though, because of light breezes, expect a little bit of an issue with mist and fog to develop. Generally around the M25 and outside, inside probably escaping it. That said, could see some of these patches turning out to be quite thick, so take a little bit of extra time to get to work tomorrow morning. So, bit of a misty start. Some of that mist and fog will melt back of its own. Some of it will lift into low cloud and then burn back. But into the afternoon, it's looking once again like a rather sunny day. 12 or 13 Celsius your high, light southerly breeze. So actually, very nice in that winter sunshine. Similar picture on Wednesday, chilly start again, a risk of seeing some mist around and about. We might get up to about 14 Celsius before we start to see that thicker cloud moving in from the west and eventually seeing some light patchy rain. As we head towards Thursday, a bit more in the way of a breeze. Again, a bit more in the way of dampness courtesy of that front, but still holding on to pretty reasonable temperatures, even if it doesn't feel like it. We should be expecting highs of around 13 Celsius. Quick look at Friday. Bit more in the way of a breeze once again. Again, lots of cloud around because of another front, but highs of 14 Celsius. So, like I say, a week of two halves, but remaining on the mild side.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles.
Finally, with more than 100,000 followers on social media, Phil Dean's artwork has gained him quite the audience. Known as the Shoreditch Sketcher, Phil draws London's urban landscape and has filled 49 sketchbooks since he moved to the capital 7 years ago. He met Sally for a scribble.
Known as the Shoreditch Sketcher, the artist behind these has a way of making the good in London look great.
So, Shoreditch Sketcher. I can't say it.
That's easier for you to say.
Shoreditch Sketcher.
Yeah.
There we go.
Also known as Phil Dean, he's a graphic designer who pretty much stopped drawing until he moved to the capital.
And it all happened when you said cheerio Leeds and came down to London.
Yes, it did. It
Good
did.
old London, eh?
That was about 9 years ago.
You got a soft spot for London, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I love it.
He's been posting his urban drawings on social media, gaining thousands of followers, and he is quite prolific.
So you've got your famous sketchbooks in here, have you, Phil?
I have, yeah, brought them.
How many have you got?
49.
49?
49.
No.
The urban architecture like this is definitely his thing, but he does pop a few people in too.
I mean, how lucky you are. You can do people and buildings.
But the good thing about buildings is they never move, whereas but people do.
So annoying,
I know,
aren't they?
I know.
We take a little stroll round Shoreditch before picking the perfect spot for a creative challenge.
So Phil, you're a brave man. You're going to teach me how to draw.
Well, we'll have a go.
What did you do in a former life to deserve this?
Armed with just a notepad and pen, we're quickly up and running, sketching Spitalfields Market.
And you'll notice that I don't try to kind of make it accurate. I embrace the wobble.
Oh, you embrace the wobble.
You've got to embrace the wobble. That's the first thing you've got to do.
That is a lesson for life. Embrace the wobble.
Yeah. Go embrace the wobble.
Concentrate.
Yeah, concentrate.
But watching Phil was quite hypnotic.
Sketch starts to emerge.
Okay.
Are you going to do any drawing?
Just mesmerised.
However, not long after I started, I had a bit of a revelation.
I'm really hungry. Do you get hungry when you pet? I've
Always.
suddenly just got an
Always.
appetite, I've realised.
Yeah.
But it also made me very relaxed, which is apparently not uncommon.
There's something happens in the brain, it's been proven, that when you're drawing you can't worry about anything else. Because your brain is working on coordinating your eyes and your hand.
Okay. What's your favourite thing you've ever drawn in London, would you say?
I'm always drawn to St Paul's Cathedral.
Are you?
It's a kind of a love-hate relationship because it's so difficult. It's so difficult to draw. Have you ever tried drawing that dome of St Paul's Cathedral? It's a nightmare. But
After 20 minutes, we compare pictures. Phil's, of course, is on the right and mine on the left. A masterpiece. Mine is not, but it was a lovely morning.
Well, that was brilliant. Thank you so much. Shall we go and get some cake and coffee because I'm starving?
Yes, please.
All right, let's do it. Remember, embrace the wobble.
Sally Williams, ITV News, Shoreditch.
I think Sally has another talent there. And that's it from us. We're back with the latest after ITV News at 10. Mary's here next with the ITV Evening News. But from me and the rest of the London team, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.